There's something most people won't admit out loud. They feel small in rooms they once dreamed of walking into. They compare themselves to strangers and influencers. They're constantly questioning if they're good enough, smart enough, capable enough, and even when they accomplish something, it doesn't last. The confidence fades as quickly as it came because it wasn't built on anything solid. It was borrowed from compliments, likes, or a rare moment of validation. And when that disappears, so does their sense of self-worth. You've probably felt this too. You post something you're proud of, but no one reacts. You walk into a room, but your voice disappears. You try to act confident, but deep down, you feel like a fraud. You wonder, why do some people seem so sure of themselves, even when things go wrong, even when they fail, even when nobody is watching? That question haunted me for a long time, until I discovered a truth that changed the way I looked at confidence forever. It's not something you feel, it's something you do, and it's not about appearing bold. It's about becoming steady. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology tried to name it. They didn't chase hype. They didn't care for applause. They built confidence from the inside out. And once I started applying their philosophy, I stopped faking confidence and started embodying it. No, I didn't magically become fearless, but I became grounded, even in uncertainty, even when I didn't have all the answers. Because I had something more powerful. I had principles, I had perspective, I had practice. So if you're tired of pretending to be confident, if you're ready to build a kind of self-trust that doesn't vanish with a bad day, you're in the right place. Because in this video, we're going to unpack the 3 Stoic pillars of confidence. Not the kind that makes you loud, but the kind that makes you unshakable. We've been sold the wrong blueprint for confidence. We're told to believe in ourselves, to fake it till we make it, to speak louder, stand taller, smile bigger. But nobody tells us what to do when our beliefs are shaky, when faking it feels like lying, and when smiling doesn't fix the chaos inside. The Stoics didn't build confidence on image. They built it on identity. They didn't hype themselves up. They humbled themselves down. And in doing that, they discovered a form of confidence that didn't need the world to approve it. That's what we're exploring in this video. Not feel-good fluff, but something deeper and real, something timeless, something you can practice every single day. Because confidence isn't something you're born with. It's a muscle you build through philosophy, through action, through pain, and through deep, unshakable clarity. I'll walk you through the 3 Stoic pillars that build this kind of clarity. And by the end of this video, you won't just understand Stoic confidence, you'll know how to live it. And hey, if you're someone who wants to master your mind and not just react to life, you'll want to stick around. Better still, consider subscribing, because I share content like this weekly, straight from Stoic texts and real-world struggles. No hype, no fluff, just tools that make you stronger. Now let's break down the very first pillar, and why this one alone can radically change how you carry yourself in the world. Pillar 1. Clarity of thought. Confidence without clarity is chaos. It's loud, anxious, and desperate. You might look bold on the outside, but inside, you're at war with yourself. The Stoics knew this. That's why they taught us to separate what we control from what we don't. Because confidence begins where confusion ends, and confusion ends the moment your mind gets clear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment of it." Let that sink in. Most of our fear, our insecurity, our hesitation, they don't come from the world. They come from how we think about the world. So here's the first Stoic pillar, clarity of thought. Ask yourself this simple question: what do I control here? Not what might happen, not what they might say, just what can I do with what's in front of me? You can't control outcomes, but you can control effort. You can't control opinions, but you can control your integrity. You can't control the storm, but you can train your posture. This kind of clarity shrinks the world down to size. Suddenly, the noise dies, and your energy returns, not scattered, but directed. The reason most people feel insecure isn't because they lack value. It's because their thoughts are untrained. They're reacting to every shift in the wind, trying to fix everything outside to feel better inside. But that's a battle you'll never win. A Stoic, on the other hand, steps back, observes the chaos without flinching, then acts only on what's his to act on. Clarity gives you that power to pause, to see clearly, to choose wisely. And that alone makes you feel 10 times more grounded than the person faking confidence with noise. So, if you want to feel confident, start by thinking clearly. We'll go deeper in the next part, because clarity is just the start. The second pillar will test you even harder and forge something in you that no applause or compliment ever could. Pillar 2. Courage in action. Clarity gives you the map, but courage is what makes you move. Without courage, confidence is just a thought experiment, an idea that never makes it to the real world, a journal entry that never becomes a lived truth. The Stoics didn't just sit around thinking wise thoughts. They acted decisively, deliberately, even when the odds weren't in their favor. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And here's what that means. The fear that stops you from speaking up, from trying again, from being seen, is almost always made up. It's a phantom, one that gets smaller every time you walk toward it. That's where real confidence lives, not in your ability to always get it right, but in your willingness to act, even when you might get it wrong. Let me ask you something. How many opportunities have you backed away from, just because you were scared of not being good enough? How many times did you stay quiet, not because you had nothing to say, but because you doubted the sound of your own voice? Now imagine this. What if you still felt fear, but did it anyway? That's Stoic courage. It's not loud or reckless. It's not ego pretending to be brave. It's quiet. It's steady. It shows up day after day, even when the spotlight is gone. And here's the kicker. Every act of courage deposits something into your self-respect bank. You may not even notice it right away, but bit by bit, that's how you build confidence. Not wait for it to magically appear. This is your training ground. Courage in action is where your confidence earns its scars, and scars make your belief in yourself real. Now here's something to reflect on. When was the last time you did something uncomfortable on purpose? Not recklessly, but as an act of discipline. If you haven't done that in a while, this is your nudge. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, consider subscribing, because this is the kind of raw, mindset-shaping content I make every week. Not fluff, not fake motivation, just tools for the kind of self-respect that actually lasts. Now, on to the final and often misunderstood pillar, the one that holds everything together, and without which confidence collapses in silence. Pillar 3. Integrity of character. Confidence without integrity is just performance. It might look strong on the outside, but inside, it's hollow. And eventually, it cracks. The Stoics knew something that most people today forget, that who you are when no one is watching. That's who you really are, and that's where your deepest confidence comes from. It's not the compliments, not the applause, not the image you polish for the world. It's the inner congruence, the alignment between your actions and your values. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's a brutal standard in a world that rewards shortcuts. But it's the foundation of unshakable self-trust. Because when your confidence is rooted in truth, you don't need to fake it. You don't need to manipulate. You don't need external validation to feel secure. You just know, and that knowing, that quiet conviction, is stronger than any motivational speech could ever be. Here's what most people get wrong about confidence. They chase strategies, they chase hacks, but they don't look inward. They don't ask the real question, am I being who I say I am? If the answer is no, it doesn't matter how good your posture is, how sharp your words sound, you'll feel off, because part of you knows you're performing a version of yourself you haven't earned. But the good news, you can start earning it now, with small, quiet acts of self-respect, telling the truth when lying would be easier, saying no when your boundaries are under pressure, keeping a promise to yourself, especially when no one else would notice if you broke it. That's not just integrity, that's training your soul to hold its shape, and from that shape, real confidence emerges. Not just confidence to speak, but confidence to live, without fear of being exposed, because you're already living in alignment. So take stock, not of your achievements, but of your alignment, because confidence built on character, that's the kind that stays, even when the crowd walks away. Think of these 3 pillars, self-mastery, rational thinking, and integrity, as the legs of a tripod. Each one holds up the structure of your confidence. Remove one, and the entire system becomes unstable. You might be incredibly disciplined, waking up at 5 a.m., crushing tasks, never skipping a workout. But if your thinking is clouded by irrational fears, you'll still feel insecure because your actions aren't rooted in clarity, or maybe you're the logical one, always analyzing, always calculating. But if your habits are chaotic, your energy scattered, your routines inconsistent, then that clarity stays locked in your head and never shows up in your life. And what if you have both self-mastery and reason, but lack integrity? You'll become a master manipulator, crafted on the outside, cracked on the inside. You might even fool others for a while, but your soul won't fall for it, and that dissonance will erode you, slowly. Real confidence isn't built by being strong in one area. It's the integration that makes it powerful. When your habits support your thinking aligns with your values, and your values show up in your daily life. That's when you become unshakable. You're no longer scrambling to impress or terrified of criticism, because your life makes sense to you, and that sense becomes your anchor, even in the storm. Now, here's where this gets practical. If you've been struggling with confidence, don't just look for surface fixes. Ask yourself, which of these pillars is missing? Are you lacking structure and discipline? Are you letting emotions override reason? Are you betraying your own standards when things get uncomfortable? Most people try to fix their confidence by changing how they look, how they sound, how they present, but Stoic confidence doesn't come from that. It comes from how you live, how you think, and how consistent you are with your principles. So if something feels off in your confidence, you're not broken, you're just imbalanced, and the moment you start rebuilding, one pillar at a time, that inner strength returns quietly, gradually, and powerfully. You won't need anyone to notice, because you will, and that's enough. Most people think confidence is a performance, a mask you wear when the world is watching, so they force it, fake it, or chase it, hoping that if they act confident long enough, they'll eventually become it. But Stoicism doesn't teach you to act. It teaches you to align, to become so anchored in who you are that you don't need to perform. When you try to perform confidence, you end up obsessing over how you look, how you sound, how you're perceived, and that obsession pulls you away from presence, from power, from clarity. You're not here, you're in your head, looping over thoughts like, do they respect me? Do I sound smart enough? Should I smile more? And that loop is loud. It drowns your real strength. Confidence is not volume. It's not posture. It's not even charisma. It's calm. It's groundedness. It's the absence of need. When you stop needing to be validated, you become undeniable, because now you're not trying to impress. You're just being, and that kind of presence is rare and magnetic. But how do you start shifting away from performance and toward presence? You build the habits of someone you trust. You sharpen the mind of someone you respect. You keep the promises that make you proud. That's when real confidence begins. If you've been enjoying this breakdown so far and want more Stoic wisdom for building mental strength, subscribe to the channel. It's a small action, but it helps you stay connected to content that challenges you and reminds you who you're becoming. Because this isn't about hype or hacks or surface motivation. This is about building a life that makes confidence the byproduct, not the pursuit. Let's bring it down to earth, because theory is nothing without practice. And these three Stoic pillars of confidence, perception, self-control, and purpose, only change your life when they meet the real world. So how do you apply them? Let's start with perception. Imagine you're about to give a presentation, your hands are sweaty, your mind is racing, your old story kicks in. I'm not good at this. I'll mess up. They'll laugh. But now you pause and ask, is this fear useful or just noise? You shift your perception. Instead of seeing a threat, you see a chance to grow. Instead of spiraling, you breathe. You anchor yourself to what you can control, your effort, your preparation, your delivery. That's Stoic perception in action. Next is self-control. You're in traffic, a car cuts you off, and you feel the heat rise. Your instinct is to honk, curse, maybe even tail them. But instead, you observe. You realize their behavior has nothing to do with your peace. You choose not to react. You stay composed. That's not weakness. That's strength trained in silence. Because self-control isn't just about resisting temptation. It's about reclaiming your power in moments when anger wants to take the wheel. Now let's look at purpose. You're in a job you don't love. You scroll past other people's success and feel behind. But instead of drowning in comparison, you ask, what do I value? What kind of life do I want to build? You start showing up for the work that matters to you. Even if it's hard, even if no one claps yet, you move with intention, not impulse. That's living with purpose, and nothing builds deeper confidence. These aren't random tips. They're ancient tools that have survived centuries because they work, but they only work if you work them. So don't just watch this video, live it. Pick one of these pillars and apply it today. In a conversation, in a conflict, in a challenge. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Let's flip the coin. Because confidence doesn't just vanish overnight. It withers when these three pillars are ignored, and most people don't even realize it's happening. When you lack perception, you let your thoughts run wild. Every criticism feels like an attack. Every obstacle becomes a crisis. You become a prisoner of assumptions. You mistake fear for truth. You catastrophize simple moments. And the worst part? You believe everything your inner critic says, without ever questioning where it came from. When you lack self-control, you chase every impulse, scroll instead of study, react instead of respond. You become a slave to emotion. You blow up over small things. You let comfort dictate your choices, and the confidence you once had, it fades, because deep down, you know you're not in control of yourself. When you lack purpose, you drift. You wake up tired not from work, but from meaninglessness. You copy what others are doing. You chase applause instead of alignment. You fill the silence with noise and wonder why you still feel empty. Because without a why, you'll always feel lost, even when everything looks fine on the outside. That's the silent tragedy. Confidence isn't lost, it's surrendered. Bit by bit, when you ignore the pillars that protect it, you might not see it immediately, but it shows up in how you speak, how you walk, how you show up for your goals. It becomes hesitation where there should be certainty, doubt where there should be clarity. The world will never give you confidence, and it certainly won't wait for you to build it. You either strengthen these pillars, or you live in the rubble. So ask yourself, which one have you been ignoring the most? And what would your life look like if you stopped? Confidence isn't something you buy, or something someone gives you with a compliment. It's forged, like steel and fire. And the Stoics? They knew this better than anyone. Take Epictetus. He was born a slave, owned by another man, stripped of freedom, status, and comfort. Yet when you read his words today, he speaks like a man who owned himself. That was his secret. He may not have controlled his external world, but he mastered his internal one. He focused on what he could control, his thoughts, responses, values. No one could take that from him. And because of that, he walked through life, even hardship, with a quiet power. Then there's Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time. An emperor with armies, riches, and influence. Yet he journaled every day like a humble student, reminding himself, I could die tomorrow. Do not be distracted. Control your mind, or it will control you. Why would a man with everything need to say such things? Because he knew the truth. Confidence isn't tied to how much you have, but how little you depend on. His rule was marked by plagues, betrayal, war, and pressure, but he kept coming back to clarity, restraint, and purpose, the three pillars. In action, Seneca too. He was rich, but wrote like a monk. He practiced poverty. He imagined losing everything. Why? Because he didn't want to be owned by his wealth. He wanted to build a confidence that could survive loss. And that's the Stoic edge. Confidence that isn't shaken when the world takes something away. So when you feel small, or uncertain, or out of control, ask yourself, what would a Stoic do? Would they scroll, sulk, complain? Or would they return to their perception, master their response, and reconnect with purpose? We read them not to worship, but to remember. They were human, just like us. Same fears, same doubts, same chaos, but a different response. One rooted in discipline, not dopamine. One built on principles, not popularity. And if they could find confidence in times far harder than ours, what's stopping us? Understanding the philosophy is one thing. Living it is another. So let's get tactical. Here are simple but powerful practices you can use daily to build the kind of confidence that Stoics carried through chaos. 1. Negative visualization. Start your day by imagining what could go wrong, not to feel anxious, but to prepare your mind. What if the meeting fails? What if they say no? What if you lose the job, the praise, the approval? You'll realize something powerful. You can still be okay, the world doesn't end, and your worth isn't attached to the outcome. This clears your mind from fear and sharpens your will. 2. Voluntary discomfort. You don't need to wait for hard times. Create them. Take cold showers. Fast for a few hours. Walk when you can drive. Speak up even when it's awkward. Say no even when it's tempting to please. These small acts break the addiction to ease and build inner strength. 3. Journaling, but not the Dear Diary kind. Write like Marcus did. Ask, what did I do well today? What did I avoid that I shouldn't have? What am I afraid of? And is that fear rational? This reflection builds awareness, and awareness builds confidence. 4. The 3-minute rule. When you feel hesitation or fear, give yourself just 3 minutes to act, not 3 hours to think. Most of our self-doubt lives in the delay, but confidence grows in motion. 5. Daily detachment. Spend at least 5 minutes detaching from something that owns you. Put your phone away, let go of needing a reply, step back from the mirror, detach from the external, so you can return to the internal, where true confidence lives. These aren't just tips, they're training. Every time you do them, you're strengthening the muscle of confidence. You're rewiring the story you tell yourself, from I need the world to affirm me, to I can walk through the world grounded, whether it does or not. And here's the deeper truth. The point isn't to never feel fear. The point is to feel it and act anyway. The Stoics didn't chase invincibility. They cultivated resilience, and that resilience became confidence, not from hype, but from habit. You don't need a seminar or another motivational quote. You just need a commitment to do small, consistent things that remind you who you really are underneath all the noise. There's a reason modern confidence feels fake, like a mask. It's because most of it's built on performance, applause, and image. But Stoic confidence? It's rooted in substance. Let's break it down. Modern confidence says, you have to look the part, fake it till you make it, talk louder, take up space, dominate the room. It's loud, flashy, validation hungry. It depends on others seeing you a certain way, and the moment that spotlight fades, so does your self-worth. Stoic confidence says, know yourself, control what you can, let go of what you can't. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. It doesn't demand attention. It radiates presence. Modern confidence is often tied to ego. Stoic confidence is tied to ethics. The modern view says you're confident when people like you. The Stoic says you're confident when you're living according to your principles, whether they clap or not. That's why Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, could rule the world and still say, don't waste what's left of your life worrying about others. Because he knew, confidence that depends on the crowd is weakness in disguise. Look around. We live in a world where people feel confident only when they get likes, when they're praised, when they're trending, and when they're not. They spiral because the foundation was external, not internal. The Stoic flips the script. They measure confidence by integrity, by what you do when no one's watching, by how you carry yourself when things go wrong, not when they're going perfect. Modern confidence is performative. Stoic confidence is principled. Here's the test. Take away the crowd, the camera, the compliments. Do you still feel grounded? Do you still know who you are? If not, what you've built isn't confidence, it's dependency. The Stoic doesn't need a stage. He is the stage. She doesn't chase the spotlight. She becomes the light, because confidence, to a Stoic, is not about being seen. It's about being sure of your values, your effort, your path. And that kind of confidence can't be canceled, can't be shaken, can't be bought or sold. It's forged in solitude, tested in adversity, and proven in silence. There comes a moment in every journey when the noise fades, when there's no one left to impress, when the applause dies down, and the mirror asks the only question that matters. Are you proud of who you are when no one's watching? That's what Stoic confidence builds you for, not for performance, but for presence, not for pretending, but for being, because real confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It's the quiet knowing that no matter how chaotic the world gets, you will not be moved, not because you have everything figured out, but because you've chosen to live by something bigger: principles, virtue, discipline, self-mastery. It's not glamorous, it won't get you trending, but it will give you peace. The kind of peace that can't be bought, the kind that remains even when things fall apart, especially when they do. The truth is, you may never be the loudest in the room. You may not have the flashiest life, but if you can walk into any room or face any storm with a calm mind, a steady heart, and values you refuse to trade, you're already ahead of most people. So, if you've ever doubted yourself, if you've ever felt small, if you've ever questioned your worth, remember this: you don't need more noise, you don't need more approval, you need more alignment with the person you're becoming and the life you're building from the inside out. Let the world chase external validation. You chase virtue. You live like a Stoic, and you'll find a strength that doesn't shake when the wind blows. Because the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. Hold the line, walk the path, and build a life you can respect, even in silence. If you want more videos like this, more principles that ground you, more reminders that center you, then hit subscribe. This journey doesn't end here. It only gets deeper. I'll see you in the next one. Stay grounded, stay stoic.